Hi everybody, I'm Diane Brady. I am here with the Padma Lakshmi, who is of course writer, entrepreneur, model, and you're the creator and producer of Taste the Nation, which is coming out, and you were just in Sports Illustrated.
Yes.
Congratulations. How do you feel about that? Like, are you happy with the results? Like,
I mean, yes, I'm happy with the results. They made me feel beautiful. Youth
you
Sai,
are beautiful.
Thank you. Youth Sai is a great photographer, and I felt very taken care of and protected. And what I love about the pictures is that my skin color actually looks like my skin color, which is a new experience for someone who is like me. I will say, if it had happened in my 20s, it would have completely changed the trajectory of my business. And
for the better?
As a model, yes, it would have definitely, and that would have helped back then. But nonetheless, that it's happening in this decade of my life. I'm in my early 50s. It seems surreal. I don't feel like that, but is even more sweeter, if I can say that. Still have mixed feelings about it because I have a 13-year-old daughter. But I'm proud of my body. I work hard at it. At 20, it was genetics. At 50, it is hard work.
Well, and what's interesting when you think about the role model that you're being in that setting and Taste the Nation, who was that created for in your mind?
Well, Taste the Nation was really created for people who don't necessarily share my political views or my views on immigration. It is really a political show and a social and cultural show masquerading as a food show. There's a lot of delicious food because that's the language people are used to hearing me speak. But it's named Taste the Nation because it's a play on Face the Nation. And I think what we don't realize, even for those people who are not optimistic about letting refugees into our country or any kind of immigration into our country, I would say, and the Cambodian episode is my answer to that. Here are refugees who did not have a technical, advanced degree or technical skill, or even speak the language. They came to this country with the shirts on their back, and they revitalized the town of Lowell, Massachusetts, which went through really hard time. Property values went down, businesses were closing, and because rents were so cheap, they moved in there, and within a generation, they have revitalized that economy. They have been elected to local government. They have even cleaned up the nearby river so that everyone can fish and play there. And so that is my answer. That is how I'm showing rather than telling.
Reminding people, right? Because I grew up in Canada, the UK, and you say tall poppy syndrome up there. Canadians get it. Here has always been a place where it was kind of why not, and immigration was the secret sauce. And they seem to have forgotten that. Are you finding it resonates differently as you yourself go around the country?
Yes, it does. I mean, I think having one season that was very successful helps because it's easier to get good participants. They know what they're getting into. But what I like to say is that, also immigrants fuel our economy. We would never be able to have a capitalist society as we do. As you said, it's the engine. And I just hope, what I hope that the show does is make everybody more curious about their fellow Americans and fellow neighbors. Who gets to say they're American is an ever evolving thing. People who are indigenous and have been here for 12,000 years would say, actually, they're the real Americans, and they would be right.
One thing that's interesting is I know that you're also involved with Gold House, talking about, we're talking about Asians in Hollywood. A lot of when we talk about anti-Asian hate, we really talk about East Asia more than South Asia. And yet, I mean, in terms of when I see the headlines, but it's not the case, and I'm just curious about what you're seeing right now because you're also talking to a lot of people.
Well, thank you for asking me that question. It is because of COVID and the scare of COVID right now focused on more East Asian than South Asian. But, I've been in Hollywood a long time, and I've been on television for 20 years. And I don't know about that. Maybe it's not overt, but it's definitely there. For a long time, I was the only Indian woman in television. I was the only one of the few Indians. There was Sanjay Gupta and there was me. That was it. And now, of course, we have Mindy Kaling. We have Never Have I Ever. We
and
have all
the Sports
these things.
Illustrated, you mentioned, why were they not calling
I
Or
don't
most
know, but
beautiful in your 20s?
I can tell you that there has only been one other South Asian woman in Sports Illustrated in all of their history, to my knowledge. And, we're 1.4 billion people. We've just surpassed China as far as population. We're also the highest earning minority or population at all in America. So
a lot of CEOs, a lot of founders in Silicon Valley.
And I still, as a woman working in Hollywood, I have to work twice as hard for the same pay and for the same opportunities that my white male counterparts do. And I hope that'll change for the next generation of young women and young people of color, because the more points of view you have in Hollywood, the more interesting the content, and the better it is for business. But old beliefs die hard, and I'll just do my best and proceed.
Let me ask you one question. I know you don't necessarily think of yourself as a brand, but what do you want your brand to represent right now, for people? Not Taste the Nation, but the Padma Lakshmi brand.
I want my legacy more than my brand, because I want my legacy to be that I helped forward our thinking in Hollywood, but also in the world. I became a Goodwill UN ambassador for that reason. I work with the ACLU for that reason. I started my Women's Health Foundation in 2009 for that reason, because endometriosis costs our economy $21 billion a year. And I just want everyone to have equal opportunity, because for so long I felt locked out of a lot of the opportunities that were afforded to my peers because of my gender or because of my ethnicity. And that is what I want my legacy to be, that I made it easier and more equitable for the people who came after me. That's what would make me happiest.
Great. And of course, you also create really entertaining ways to spread that message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Thanks
so
for
excited
joining us.
for you to see it.
Great.
And thanks for having me on.
Of course.